NTV.
A very good morning and welcome from that break. Of course, the update coming there from Stephen Mbide on the state of transport within the city as the people and residents begin to trek up country ahead of Christmas and New Year festivities. Let's now go into our Kickstarter discussion. We are discussing the issue of whether the East African Community budget planners are responding to the economic squeeze within the region. Of course, every nation across this African community is grappling with a lot of challenges, all conditioned by the very factors that are registered across the globe, right from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic through to the emergence of the war in Ukraine that was conditioned by Russia, and of course the attendant consequences that came with that. Joining me for the discussion and perspective are the Executive Director of the Civil Society Budget Action Group, commonly known as CSBAG, Julius Mukunda, as well as the MP for Otuke County, Honorable Paul Omara. We shall, of course, be diving into that. Allow me say welcome, gentlemen, to the morning show.
Welcome. Good morning.
How are you?
We're good.
Good.
Good
the
morning.
East African region is grappling with challenges that are being experienced across other regions of Africa and indeed across the globe. Many people, especially when asked the question, what is the solution to the challenges that we face? Those within the corridors of power that have the mandate to act have consistently told us that what we are facing is what everyone else is facing. And perhaps we should not expect a panacea that is different from what is being rolled out across other countries. I'll begin with Member of Parliament for Otuke County, Paul Omara. You are within the corridors of power, that is Parliament. Do not say no, because Parliament is an arm of government, and of course government has the power. You are doing the legislation, and you understand what needs to be rolled out and perhaps have the ability to influence this particular push. What are we doing to solve the challenges that we are facing right now economically?
No, thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. As we are all aware, this country and the world came out of a big epidemic, COVID-19, which actually shut down the economy.
That's right.
For almost 2 years and still going. In Russia, it has reoccurred. And what that one did was it actually first shut down supplies, the supply side of business across the world. And all economic activities actually were put on a standstill. Later on, when the economy was opened up, there was actually few goods, and the demands were all over the world. And what happened was that inflation went up.
That's right.
Really went up from a very small amount within a single digit, like in our case, 5%. Actually, it was below 5%, about 3.5. It went up. Headline inflation is now 10.7, which means those who have a fixed income are grappling because their salaries have not been increased. So the basket of goods that you used to buy for 1 million shillings has now dropped. So at the household level, people are feeling the pain of the outcome, the impact of COVID-19. And of course, recently we had another part of the country shut down to about 2 districts because of Ebola. And that also continues to affect how the world view us, because if you look at the tourism industry, for example, I think it was the most affected. And as a consequence, those who are, my friends were telling me who were in the tourism industry, there are some people that had booked to come to Uganda for Christmas, for holidays. But when we started talking about Ebola, they cut it down. So I think that is what is happening. The second one, of course, is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And as you are aware, Ukraine used to supply the world, the biggest supply of wheat to the world, and fertilizers. And because of that, those supply disruptions, again, prices have gone up. So you have to still to pay much more money for the same amount of staff, or you don't have it at all. So there's scarcity of supply in the global community. And that has really affected us as a country. And what we have been doing as Parliament, remember that in the beginning there was a lot of interventions, especially for the vulnerable and the Office of the Prime Minister. The second one, we went out to borrow. We borrowed substantial amount of money to really save us from COVID, which actually went to the Ministry of Health. And that was substantial amount of money, which means our debt levels went up on account of trying to save the country from the epidemic. And of course, we went through the budget process for 2022-2023. where we have allocated funds into key strategic areas for the economy to reboot. For instance, we are budgeted to spend $1.059 trillion on a Paris development model. The unfortunate part of it is actually that it is taken time for that money to be rolled out to the population. Because you remember...
Actually, it's kicking off today.
you know, where are we? We're in December.
The latest reports.
We only have 6 months to go in the financial year to really close. And so if you had projected the GDP to grow by a certain level, and you have not been able to release capital investment money, it means you're going to lag behind, and your projected figures is going to suffer. So I think broadly, in not only in Uganda, in East Africa, we are experiencing the same thing. A high inflationary environment, a supply disruptions coming out of as a result of COVID, balance, budget deficits on account of revenue collections, low revenue collections, and we are all borrowing. Our debt to GDP ratio now is over 50%. We are much better off than our neighbors, Kenya and Tanzania.
That's right.
So we are all experiencing the same thing, and we really need to do something so different so that we can really reboot the economy and make sure that we recover. Okay,
Julius Mukunda, you literally oversee, you monitor and evaluate budget processes from the private sector or a civil society point of view, and you know pretty much everything that is going on, whether what is being done could actually get us out of this or not, but we shall be speaking a strategy a little bit later. Just let me ask you whether you agree with the sentiments expressed by the Honourable MP, or we can count on you for something else.
No, I think the analysis is okay.
That's right.
I think, but for us now, the challenge is everything you talk about, they say, oh, COVID came. They say, oh, COVID came. No, Russia came. Ebola has come. We have it. And at the end of the day, is that as an ordinary person from Chisoro, what do you have
to do? Record.
It's what do you have to do with Russia and Ukraine? Is you need solutions.
That's right.
And the solutions, we need solutions yesterday. And that's why we get disappointed, because when PDM money comes in December, at the end of the in the middle of the financial year, we get disappointed because PDM was
the game season where people spend on consumables.
Yes, spend on Christmas. I'm telling you, because right now I'm telling you is that what Ugandans are experiencing, that they need solutions, and they need solutions yesterday. So we wanted, for example, PDM to kickstart immediately, but the challenge is that we are not ready to implement it. So why would we want to start a program and we are not ready? Why couldn't we invest heavily in preparedness so that we can kickstart some of these some of these issues? Secondly, for me, is about inflation. Yes, inflation is there, but we know the cause of inflation.
Yeah.
In this country, inflation is about food. And we're telling people, when it rains, it will start coming down. And indeed, now by a percentage point, I think from 0.7 to 0.6, because it is raining.
Because it's raining.
By January, it would not be a story about inflation. So why wouldn't we know and get prepared, ensure that we have enough agricultural food production, and forget about inflation, so that we don't get disrupted? So I think for me is that Parliament, as much as it has done its job, I think we wanted to see more pressure on the government to get prepared and do those more strategic areas, so that we cushion our citizens from some events that they have no control over, because you have no control over Ukraine. For example, they say wheat. You ask yourself, in this country, can we fail really to produce enough wheat?
The amount of wheat that is being produced in Sebei region and some parts of northern Uganda has the potential to increase in quantity. I do not know, and I can't sufficiently say that it can provide the necessary
No, it's a question
supply.
of it's a question of saying we need wheat.
What do we do for the farmers?
What do we do for the farmers? I give you a scenario. In Padel, Uganda Coffee Development Organization, in one season said, if you grow cotton, we'll buy it at this price. A few farmers hesitated, but that season passed. Uganda Cotton Development went and bought all the cotton. The second season, everybody in the Padel was growing cotton.
Yes, because they saw there was...
Because they saw there was already market. Without even any help. Now, when there was too much cotton, the Cotton Development Organization bought less. Because now there was too much cotton. The next season, nobody grew cotton. So it tells you the signals the farmers follow. If you stand there and say, we need wheat, even me and you will leave these studios, we shall go and grow wheat. Because the signal
is through,
is there.
Come there.
And that's what the government needs to do. We are importing wheat.
And that brings me to the question, what is the budget strategy that needs to address this particular concern? For example, how farmers can be helped to improve their ability to plant many of these crops that can be sold at, in huge quantities to make money. You are saying you are monitoring the budget process. Are these considerations being put into place?
So that's what we were discussing yesterday, and I think even today morning with the Honorable, is that we can trade ourselves out of poverty. A colleague of mine says that.
We can trade ourselves
out of poverty. Because you see, when you tell a farmer and say, please, we need maize, they will definitely plant maize. But you need to help them sell that maize.
That's right.
You need to invest in marketing that maize. But you can't also sell maize in its form. You need to add value to the maize. So we need to see government investing in adding value to the maize. So value addition is very key and very important. These markets, we need them. We shouldn't be fighting with Kenya about our eggs and chicken. No. If we have market in Nigeria, what are we doing to prepare farmers so they can produce this milk of quality and we export it? I think that's very key and very, very important. Investment in agro-industrialization is very key. We want to go to the moon, we want to build vehicles, it is okay. But there are low-hanging fruits that we can do as a nation, especially in agriculture, that can help us robust and run off more physical challenges.
Honorable, are we dropping the ball on what priorities we should be focusing on as a country?
President Museveni, who is the chief executive of the country, identified 4 pillars that the country should focus on. One is industrialization. Second, commercial agriculture. Third, services. And the last one, ITC. Now, well-identified priorities. The question is the budget well aligned to these priorities? And my answer is no. So if we can actually say, okay, and I want to agree with my brother here, if we are going to say, let us commercialize agriculture, which means we want to improve production, what is it that we must do to commercialize agriculture? That question has not been answered. If we say we are going to industrialize, we must therefore link up the production which is happening at the household level to industry. I was listening to the meeting in London, and they are saying they have got now $500 million worth of market for milk in Algeria. The question is, how have we prepared industry in Uganda and the farmers to link up to industry to meet that market? We have talked so much about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Kenya has started taking advantage of that. In fact, President Ruto actually fanned off a consignment of produce from Kenya now to Northern Africa under the continental free trade area. What is it that we are doing? IT and services. What are we doing in those areas? Because when you begin to look at our budget and you say, okay, where are the priorities? In a budget of 48.1 trillion, the one for modernizing agriculture, to increase production at the household level is 1,059 billion. You have not given that money out for 6 months. And then you are giving it now 6 months to the end of the financial year. Are you serious? So it's not that the priorities have not been identified. They are critically identified. How much money have you put at UDB and Microfinance Support Center to support the SMEs that we talked about yesterday, who are actually looking for affordable credit? Because now that is government money, that's public money going to MSC and UDB. How much money have you put there? And then the question is, have you discussed and made the process, access of that money easy? Because you might put the money there. From the conversation yesterday, they were saying, okay, money is put there, but to get it, it's very difficult.
Very difficult.
You have to go through a list of items to get it there. So the entire infrastructure to deliver on the promise is not enhanced.
You speak of an infrastructure that cannot deliver on the promise at national level. When you look at the context of the East African community, this is like adding to a new problem, to a set of problems that you're unable to solve. You want to go into the East African community dispensation and be able to benefit from everything that has been put together. When you look at President William Ruto and how he has...
the hustler.
You know, the hustler. He was very deliberate and very vocal, especially in the initial stages when he was...
And the hustler fund is there.
The hustler fund is there. There is a rollout and there's a look when you see the Kenyan government looking at Mama Mboga. There is that phrase they always use, the Mama Mboga, the lowest person, especially when it comes to the economy, and the need to reboot that ability for them to transact easily and promptly. You see, there is a clear strategy, a seemingly clear strategy. Let me say that, because in Africa, things might seem, and then all of a sudden, they change. When you look at the strategy being rolled out by William Ruto, is it something that is aligned to the greater aspirations of the East African community? Not that we should put Ruto on the spot to plan for us.
No. First of all, is that the Hustler Fund is the Youth Livelihood Fund.
By another name.
By another name. Yes. And we decided to remove it and to do parish development. So to tell you is that in this country we don't lack ideas. We do have ideas.
Implementation.
On paper, but implementation are problems. So what Ruto is doing, and I think we're expressing, is that he wants to deliver. He wants to see a common person benefiting. From programs very quickly on time. And I think the most what we should also learn from him also is that he doesn't. One of the things that I will is that he has decided that government should stop borrowing expensively. Because he has that spirit of business mind, that you should not waste money. So why should you want to borrow from domestic market at very high plus when there is cheap money flowing around the international market? And I think that's what the East Africans we need to look out for. So for me is, as a country, the first things we need to do is, if we promise something, let us get ready to deliver it. Let us not promise something and then we start running to deliver it, to plan how to deliver it. I think the first thing is we need to invest in preparedness. That's why you have all these roads. A road of 4 years takes 20 years. A small borehole that should have been constructed in 3 days, it's going to take a whole year to be finished. So our lack of preparedness, I think, has really constrained our ability to grow as a country. Not because we don't have the money. We have the money. We have the money. The challenge is how to deploy resources. We get confused.
I just want to supplement on your point before we lose it.
Please do.
The lack of seriousness. We have great ideas. By the way, across our neighbors from Rwanda, they come here for ideas and implement. We have great ideas. And you just imagine this bypass It's taken us, you know, it's about 33, 35 kilometers. It's taken us 20 years to build. 20. And every time you find construction going on. How can that one happen at our watch? I'll give you a quick example. As a committee of budget, we went to through Dar es Salaam and to Mombasa, and then later on to Nairobi, and looking at what these people have done on standard gauge railway. We entered into that railway. You'd be proud to be a Kenyan. So we agreed 10 years ago that we will do standard gauge railway. Even us, Kenya and Tanzania, they're finished. They have actually put that one now from Mombasa to Naivasha, standard gauge. Then from Naivasha to our border at Malaba, 1 meter. Now, a train brings 100 cargo, one trip to the borders here. When they reach here, we cannot get that thing to Kampala.
We need to get the cargo.
It collapses at that border. So they have to break that 100 cargo, which is brought by one train, into 10 parts. So we need to take 10 trips from the border to come to Kampala to bring cargo brought by one train.
You asked a very good question and a very.
And I'm happy the president fired these guys at Uganda Railway. Really seriously, it's absolute baloney. We have a country like that.
Very quickly, you asked a question, and I'm going to ask you to give us the solution. You said things are happening under our watch. You are a member of parliament on the budget committee. These things are happening under your watch. Does that mean you're not serious?
No, 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 no. We have played our constitutional role. We have
and approved morons.
We have given you money. We have appropriated, and the only thing we can do is oversight.
All right.
The executive has the mandate to execute on those plans.
Let's continue that discussion right after this break. We shall now go for a break. Of course, the discussion is about East African budget planners and how they can respond to the economic squeezes within the country. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Watching Morning at.
Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us on our Kickstarter discussion here on Morning at NTV. Before we went for that break, we were asking the MPs, and that is the 11th Parliament, that should be monitoring some of the executive's actions and rollout of projects and programs and ensuring that everything is done, could perhaps be failing in doing that particular job. When it comes to budget processes across the East African region, each country, that is Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and of recent the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan, are all acting on the challenges that they are facing. Some of them might not be unique, but they are peculiar to each country. Should there be concerted effort? Should there be some kind of uniform rollout of solutions across the East African community so that we can return to the kind of economic stable ground that we had before things like COVID-19 happened? Those are questions we're trying to answer here. And of course, if you are just joining us, our guests this morning are the MP for Otuke County, Paul Omara, as well as the Executive Director of CSBAG, CSBAG being the Civil Society Budget Action Group, Julius Mukunda. Julius Mukunda, you are buried in the thick and thin of budgeting and budget processes. Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Sudan are acting in their own ways. The challenges they face are not unique, but they are peculiar, like I said in the latest intro. Should we be more like a coping, especially for solutions that have worked elsewhere, to apply here?
No, I mean, we were just telling you that a number of things that we plan here and right here are picked.
Are picked by other people.
By our neighbours.
Do we ever pick anything from them?
And they implement. I think now it's high time we pick and see
how they implement.
How are they implementing? Because probably the implementation challenge that we are facing, we've not got a solution for it. How come in 10 years, when you go to Kenya, you find that the SGR is there, they have highways and byways. You go to Tanzania, the SGR is there, our airport has never been finished.
No.
We've been building this thing, and I thought probably it was a mega one, but it is one of the smallest still. But how come these people are able really to deliver on time? It's not that they don't have, but they deliver on time. I think that's something maybe we need to learn from them. But if you come back here and say, why are we not delivering on time? I think these are fundamental issues that even the Parliament has raised at the Budget Committee. You find number one, our capacity. You are starting a road, but you don't have a visibility plan. So you get a loan, and you don't have a plan on how the road is going to look like. That's one. Number two, of course, is that also that the lack of capacity also prevents us from finishing a project on time. You remember the tree issue, whereby we are constructing a road, and after some time we realized there was a tree in the middle of the road, and we start haggling over
scuffle between traditionalists
so
and UNRWA.
Two things you ask when you are doing a visibility plan. Didn't you find that there was that tree that was
it was significant to the traditionalists?
Yes, so that you can plan how you can lift it, or you go around it. You know, some of those things. The other element I think is that why we are not completing on time is that also we are too ambitious. We have so many things going around, but we don't have enough resources to run them and finish them on time. So that itself means that you find that the counterpart funding we have also always been behind the schedule. Lastly, I think for me is the whole issue around our lack of capacity inadequate to absorb all the money that we have borrowed, that we want to implement. You will find out that in the parliamentary report, the budget committee report, they were saying that a number of 10 projects they had sampled, all of them were performing at less than 50%, and that we have 4.5 billion of undisbursed loans. These are amounts of money of loans we have contracted to utilize, but we have failed to use it. And I think this is something we need to learn from our counterparts. How come for them they can be able to utilize all the money they have borrowed and construct all these projects in time?
Allow me just pick your mind on that. Our ability to absorb the money that we borrow to be able to undertake development projects. Help me understand why we get money and we are again unable to use it.
It sounds funny, and also it sounds a bit ridiculous.
Perhaps take us through the technical aspects of it. Maybe we can understand it from that point.
It happens because for example, you have every loan has got its milestones. If you reach 10%, you shall send another disbursement. If you reach 40%, you shall send another disbursement. So if you have not reached 10%, the next disbursement cannot come. You have to wait for it. So just imagine how many projects are stalling. For example, you go to Roboa, I mean the Roboa hospital, it is still underground. And we are told that by in 3-4 years, this project with the hospital will be there. If you go to Segampiji Express Highway, I mean, the African Development Bank loan is there waiting for it to start. The road was supposed to have been finished 2-3 years ago. But since we have not moved on it, the amount of money is still there waiting, that seated there for you.
Money is literally looking at us.
And that's why sometimes we ask.
He's right. He's right. And also another aspect to it is some loans are secured, and there is what we call the counterparty funding. They will say, okay, we are going to give you $200 million. You'll give us 10% of that money. You know, so you give us 20 million. So they have their 200, we don't have the $20 million to give. So if you don't bring your side, then it means we cannot proceed. That also speaks to your inability to absorb, because that $20 million, you can't produce it. The other one is, if you're doing a road, you're supposed to know, they call mobilization. The equipment that needs to be there, you know, for you to start the work. So you find a contractor is given, you know, a project, he doesn't even have the equipment to handle the job. You know, and we assume we lie through all the process, and you know, we can document, and somebody's submission looks very good, but actually behind it there is nothing. So those are the challenges that we face. If you look at this bypass, which has taken 20 years, what has been the problem?
I was looking at your profile and discovered that you've been a banking executive across the region, and giving your experience. and the rollout of some of this money.
Yes.
The banks play a huge part,
yes,
especially when it comes to domestic financing of some of these mega projects.
Yes.
How is it done in Kenya that it's not the same in Uganda, or that can be replicated somewhere else?
I'll give you an example where we were involved in, I was in Tanzania, and I came at the backdrop where Standard Bank, through what we call private placements, had mobilized money, $600 million,
That's right,
to help Tanzania work on its infrastructure, that Dar es Salaam Mtwara gas pipelines. And you know, it was done within record time. As we speak now, you know, Dar es Salaam is, Tanzania actually, is self-sufficient in gas. There used to be a lot of generators making noise in Dar es Salaam. Go there and if you hear anyone, a single one crying, they have sufficient resources. They have been able to do it within a limited timelines. This is the same thing that we did here recently, where through Standard Chartered Bank, they, as a lead arranger, they organized some money for us recently.
That controversial
one.
Yeah.
And it's a very cheap money, totally cheap. And it's long-term money. Those are what we call the concessional funds.
Concessional loans.
Exactly.
Like
so that is what we should be pursuing. And we had advised the Minister of Finance, said, please leave this domestic money alone. Because now, the prime lending rates are actually 19 and whatever, so which means you have to borrow at 20 to 24.
Yes.
If you, a 10, 20-year bond is now going at 18%. It's too high, which means you're actually sinking yourself in perpetual debt. But these loans here, you'll find is 2%. It's 0.something%. And it's a long tenure. So you don't actually feel it. It's like your own money. So that is where we need to go. Use these banks that are available, the lead banks, Stanbic, Standard Chartered, and they will go as lead arrangers. You'll pay them a fees, of course. Even if you pay them $20 million, $40 million, you know, what you're going to get substantial amount of money very cheaply for 20 years, for 30 years. And you are able to deal with your infrastructural issues here.
All right. In addressing the challenges of transforming our economies, looking at Uganda, increasingly the export strategy has been one that is, you know, vacillating.
Yes.
I'll be very honest with you. The export strategy is not one that an average Ugandan who is not within the confines of Ministry of Finance can put a finger to.
Yes.
But when you look at the ability of the new dispensation of the free trade area and Uganda intra-trade, intra-Africa trade, are we using the best, are we taking this advantage the way we must be able to take it on, for example, exporting to Kenya, and much of what we must, away from the skirmishes on eggs and maize, flour.
No, you can't say skirmishes. This is the real. Because you see, this is your only market.
Yeah.
And when you say we have no strategy, then I think that's what the problem is.
Yes.
Because probably the strategy we have is to sell to Kenya eggs, and we sit and we sit.
And we wait.
No, it shouldn't be. He has just told you that Ruto has just you know flagged off vegetables to North Africa.
Algeria.
To Algeria.
So for us, what are we saying? You see, there is this notion of saying produce, but you are producing for what? If Japan wants squared watermelons, for example,
If
they want squared watermelons, are you going to take your round ones? You cannot take. They will not accept.
They won't accept them.
So you see, you start from the market, and then you go back.
Understand what they want.
We are saying that there is a market for milk in Algeria. Are we going to take the milk in buckets? You can't take it to Algeria in buckets. You need to say, okay, you want milk. This is the kind of milk you want. This is the packaging you want. Then you come back and tell farmers, please, let us deal with the quality of milk production. Let us help our processors package it specifically for the Algerian market. But the milk in the Algerian market might be different from the milk in Belgium, in the US market. So you come back, prepare farmers. That's what a strategy is all about. I'm pretty not sure that we have reached that stage of sophistication.
The Uganda Investment Authority has a new set of leaders, especially from the board and the executive director. As a budget committee, there is a mandate that you have to monitor some of the work that they are doing. On Twitter, there are elements that have accused Uganda Investment Authority officials of seeking to be too photogenic most of the time. They love to take pics of which meeting they are into, who they have met. Are they doing the work that they are supposed to do?
The Uganda Investment Authorities, their work is basically to facilitate investment
in the country,
into the country, making sure there are enabling laws, they have a nice and a quick passage, and that they, you know, we have industrial parks, prepare industrial parks, so that when you go outside there, you tell them we have industrial parks in these places, and we have put electricity, water systems, everything is working. Come and just put your money, and the market is available.
That's right.
Their work is basically enablement, not to block. In Rwanda, I'm told you can go there and in a day you'll finish all your work.
Yeah,
they have made it so easy, very nimble, very nice. So that's the role they have to play, and we can only find out how far they're doing. But I can tell you that even the kind of investors we have, I still worry because there is investment law and trade. By the way, I want to mix it with trade.
Please do.
Our law says that, you know, I think if you're a foreigner, you must come with at least $100,000 now. I think figure has gone up to 200. But you find foreigners are selling eggs with our traders in
they're hawking.
Yeah, they're hawking, basically. You can't go and do that in London or in China or India. You can't.
That's right.
So we really need to say, are these investments that we are talking about, the investors coming, are they really true investors? Or they're just coming to take the little from us? The other one, of course, is Ministry of Trade, building up those opportunities outside there. You know, Africa's contribution in global trade, we are 1.3 billion
very,
people.
Very
3%, less than 3%.
Very
global trade.
Yeah.
The largest continent, 1.3 billion people. We are growing, and the fastest growing population. But control of global trade, 3%. And yet we have all the world's minerals. So there's something absolutely wrong with us. And so, and if you look, the figures were thrown at us yesterday. Billions of dollars that we used to import items off Africa. So the issue of intra-African trade must be promoted. And therefore, when we are looking at the markets, we shouldn't be looking at what are we going to sell to Lira within ourselves here, or even Kenya. We should be saying what opportunities are there in Nigeria.
That's right.
And that's where we need to go.
Mr. Julius Mukunda here is working with an organization, according to the way I look at things, a solutions-based advocacy, whereby you are trying to figure out what can be done, how it can be done, and then help the government by being an advisory body. When it comes to capacity, the local government alone is bloated, sometimes people say, and you find that most of the money that goes into to help local governments across the country goes into operations, buying fuel for the SUVs, many of which after 3 months they are parked at the district headquarters. Very nice pickups, simple burst of a tire, it is parked.
They can't repair it.
Have you advised government on this?
Yes.
Do you have a blueprint?
No. First, fire every poor non-performing accounting office.
Okay.
If you're an accounting officer, a project of 3 years, it is taking you 20 years, get fired. Get out. You can get Mr. Omara, he can run that project very well, even yourself. Just do that.
Amen.
Secondly is stop creating these small administrative units. They don't increase service delivery at all. That one is known. Stop it. Let us put a moratorium and we don't increase them.
No more cities?
No more cities, districts, sub-counties, parishes and villages. Stop demarcating all those things. Let us rationalize agencies. Let us ensure that these who are duplicating work where we are, let us rationalize that one. Let us come to Parliament and reduce the number of members of Parliament and even ministers.
Remove Mr. Otuke.
Yes, remove Otuke, remove
Mr. Omara for Otuke County.
Otuke used to be one, but they cut it into two.
Yes.
Personally, I don't mind it going into the original.
Yeah, merge it into the original.
So save money so that you have some savings that can enable you reduce on the appetite to loans, and that you can have money to do the things that you want to do as a nation.
That's right.
Things that we don't have conditions.
Yeah.
Those are simple things that we can do as a nation and prosper.
As we wrap this up, allow me ask, are the leaders up to task, especially within the East African region? President Yoweri Museveni is very vocal when it comes to speaking about regional integration and everything that comes with it. President William Ruto is new on 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 the job. 100 days, we're still counting and evaluating him. Paul Kagame, when these leaders sit, do they agree? Are they genuinely in agreement, or it's a case of each doing or speaking for the cameras? Just the other day, why am I bringing in this context? Mumias Sugar Factory in Kenya was handed over to Sarai Group. Sarai Group is owned by Uganda, and there was a bone of contention there, and it led Mr. Ruto to go personally to Mumias Sugar Factory and threaten Sarai Group that if they do not heed to the terms and conditions that he wants, out. He has more, as he put it, better and strategic investors there who will, first and foremost, employ Kenyans to do the job, unlike Sarai Group that wants to bring Indians and Ugandans.
Yeah.
It's a case of leaders saying one thing and doing another. Do you agree that there is common ground?
You see, the East African integration, it was started by our forefathers, by the President Obote, Julius Nyerere, and Kenyatta. And they were very, very strong on integration, even political integration. Dr. Obote and Dr. Julius Nyerere were amiable to political integration. Kenya stopped it. Kenya was, they were very
skeptical. They seem not to trust the rest.
They were more of a capitalist orientation. Even now, we have mistrust still, not by Kenya this time, by Tanzania. And also there's mistrust. Now we are bigger. There's DRC, there's Burundi, and we are bringing more. The issue of regional security.
Yeah.
And now you've seen the regional standby force, and now in DRC, there's accusation between
Kinshasa and
Kigali. So there's that tension on the issue of insecurity. But also there is also tension around protectionism. They speak one language. By the way, what we call the non-tariff barriers. You find if bringing commodities from Mombasa, even to Malaba here, used to take almost 2 weeks. Reason, at every spot there were police roadblocks asking for kitu kidogo. So we had to work so hard to really remove those non-tariff barriers. But now there is now interest, economic interest, of saying, if we are producing this, then the other guys should not. And that is why you find that there was a conflict with sugar, Ugandan sugar, when Uhuru Kenyatta was still president, where Raila was saying, you know, we need to keep our sugars here. Why are you bringing Uganda sugar? This time around, when Ruto is there, it's about our milk. And now it's about our investors. So I think the leaders must walk the talk. I think if there is anybody who is very liberal around this, is President Museveni. I don't think President Museveni has ever stood anywhere to say, don't bring Kenyans goods here.
That's right.
Or don't bring anything. He's been, and he's highly respected within the region. But there is suspicion in Tanzania, especially on Kenyan products going across.
That's right.
The Kenyans are suspicious about our products and about our investment. So I agree with you that leaders need to really fly above these things.
They can do better.
Right. Let the business people integrate more. And leaders just provide the torch and the policies, and then we as business will be able to do it.
All right, thank you very much. I will allow Julius Mukunda, since you are with the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, to tell us what we are planning ahead of the financial year 2023. 2024.
No, the financial, of course, the preparation have started 2013-2024, and I've been telling Ugandans 3 things. Number 1 is get interested how government is going to collect money. We have 45-something trillion budget because they said that it's not going to change.
It's not going to change.
We have that figure. So please get interested to know how the government is going to get them.
How do we register that interest and also be seen to be interested? So
to get interested, please these talk shows we are watching right now, please make a follow up. If there is a government parliament proceedings on the budget, please follow up. Get interested in. Second is get interested where money is being spent. And I've told people that borehole is not from 7, it's not from no. It is yours. Let it function. And if it's not there, you ask why the money for the borehole was sent, but the borehole is not there. So for me, is please get involved on how the government is raising and spending money.
All right. Julius Mukunda, Executive Director of the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, commonly known as CSBAG. Many thanks for those insights, and of course many thanks to you too. Honorable Paul Omara, the MP for Otuke County, and of course a member of the Budget Committee. I hope the discussion here has been able to embolden your own perspectives with regard to budgeting processes across the region and how each country is able to tackle the challenges of the day, despite the fact that they are global in nature. That will do it for the Kickstarter discussion. We are continuing morning at NTV, so please just tighten your belt, take a little bit of a coffee, and we shall be right back.